speak joy to the world. What child is this? And then, of course, over here, we've got God is nowhere. And if you had it laminated, you could just keep erasing the cross and putting it back up as you got to that part, you know. So anyway, just Christmas ones. Okay, so you're next.
All right, I just want to give my favorite part was the kids club. I just want to give a brief rundown of sort of the order that they go in, that the kids club goes in. So first, obviously the preparing of the sketchboards and figuring out like who's going to do what job. There's like whoever's going to tell the story. Someone's going to be in charge of songs. Someone's going to watch the crowd and see who's the best behaved child. And the MC, there's an MC, just introduces the people and moves the program along. And the person that gives the object lesson. So there's several, there's a lot of jobs to do, and others, also the Bible puzzle. And so some of them are really good for people who just want to start doing something, but they're not ready to do the Bible story. When we were down with our training, we actually had to do all parts of it. I never did the adults minister. I can't lie, I was like, don't call me, don't pick me. I did some passing out tracts, and that was like in my sort of more my comfort zone, but we weren't supposed to stay in our comfort zone. But for the kids part, we did, I was a part of all the different things. So preparing, we're getting all the things painted, and we're getting ready to go out the next day and do our kids club. So setting up, that's just setting up your boards, and we set a tarp up for the kids to sit on, and we get ready to play a game. So in the projects, we just would go down the different streets, and we'd see if there was someone outside playing. We'd say, hey, there's a kids club in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Or tell the parents, hey, can your kid, they should always ask their parents. But we just talk to anybody and tell them what we're going to have. Oh, it's going to be fun, we're going to have games and everything, and it's the summertime and they're bored, so hopefully they'll come over. And so that's how we do that. We haven't knocked on doors, but I'm not sure how it would work in Maine, because I don't see a lot of
kids. We've knocked on doors before.
Yeah, I think in Maine, it might look like knocking on doors and saying we're having a kids club either later today or at least like in half an hour, because we're more spread out. We don't just have a lot of apartment buildings that have a park in the middle or something. So it's going to look different wherever you go. This is how it looked, rounding up. And then you saw the parachute several times in the video. That was like really good eye catcher for kids to come over, even if they didn't hear there was any kind of story or anything going on. They'd come over for the parachute. And a lot of times the parents would come over, and we can talk to them too. So it's like kids ministry, but then it's really not, because there's gonna be people, teenagers, there's gonna be adults gathered around too. So we do the game. It gets everyone excited, and then we say, come on over to the mat. We're gonna have a story. We're gonna have some games and things. So you come over, and there was someone chosen to be the eagle eye, which is what, hey, there's an eagle eye watching to see who's best boy, behaved boy and girl. And sometimes we'll ask for rules, but I guess it's more likely that we should just pick rules like raise your hand and
don't poke your neighbor.
Keep your hands to yourself. Basically, the same 3 rules that you use probably in early childhood education. Yeah. So you'd have the rules laid out, and then there's a prize. So that's a big thing. That'll get them paying attention. And then we'll just do that. We'll do an action song. Could be Father Abraham. Could be Joshua fought the battles of Jericho or whatever. A lot of us learned them in Sunday school, but anything that gets your body moving, and so they like that. So someone would be doing that. And then we'd go to an object lesson. Erin can show you some more of the object lessons that are specifically for kids, mostly for kids. that we do, and those are really neat. And it's all building up and pointing towards the story of the gospel and what we're ultimately there for, to share the gospel. And then we'll do the puzzle, look over there, and we'll have a boys and girls team, or we'll just split the crowd in the middle, and that will be a Bible verse. Can you tell me which one? But you'll pick a Bible verse and you'll do that up there. And then you just make it fun, an S. Oh no, it wasn't an S, and the caterpillar's gonna take a big bite of the watermelon, and oh no, and so that makes it really, do you wanna name the caterpillar, what do you wanna do?
Do you guys wanna do it?
That would say boys, and that would say girls.
Sure, of course we do.
You wanna
Oh yeah, I guess that's where we
You
would
do.
start, because we're not gonna play a group game of parachute, so.
I have one in the
You
car.
guys agree on the rules,
We
so.
can if you want.
So yeah, we probably
Oh,
won't,
yeah.
we do the action song, well,
Yeah, go through it and then.
okay, yes, we'll do it after. So we're gonna do the Bible verse puzzle, and then we'll count up the points afterwards, and everybody, who do you think's gonna win, the boys or the girls, and we'll count it up at the end, and, yeah. And then, the sketchboard story, and of course, someone's moving this along, the MC. Then announce the best behaved child. That's really, can be hard on people, but it is what it is. I have a best, not everybody can win the trophy. So, and then a short prayer is given, and like an invitation to accept Christ, but only in OAC I found that it was more like, it's not quite like maybe we'd see in like Vacation Bible School, like we're gonna be talking to kids, going through the gospel was probably a track that we have, and talking to them and getting a feeling if they're ready to do it. We're not gonna be like, okay, say a prayer with us, and we're just gonna do it, because they're not really getting that in their heart, unfortunately. You can't force it, so if they're gonna take the seed with them, that's good, or if they're ready to accept Jesus, that's even better. So, and that's what the counseling is, just talk to the kids and
We actually, I'll add just,
yep, go ahead.
are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so, for the counseling, we actually, is a little booklet on the table over here? There it is. So for the kids, this was actually also came from Ray Comfort's ministry. It used to be called the International Track. He actually doesn't sell them anymore, but OAC has the rights to print. So we do print it out, and we use this, and so there's no words, it's just pictures, and we go through the book, and we don't just, we don't just talk at the kids, but the way we use the counseling book is we ask questions. So you don't want to go through, you just talked at the kids with your story, so you don't want to just keep talking at them. Now you want to find out, where are they at? What do they understand? What do they know? And you'll get some crazy answers, from the booklet. So you just go through page by page, and the basic question at the, there's some different parts. There's the 10 Commandments in the middle, and then there's sort of like a storyline through the rest of it. You might be familiar with it already. So for the storyline parts, the basic question is, what's happening in this picture? And for the 10 Commandments, the basic question is, what is the man doing wrong? And then you just see what they answer. And then you can kind of direct from there. And like Gretchen said, we don't have an approach where we have a repeat after me. We've found that children are very eager to please. They will do anything you tell them to do. And you can actually give them a false sense of security. And later in life, they might say things like, well, I said that prayer already. We don't want that. We don't want them to have we want Jesus to be real to them. They need in the world we have today, we need the reality of Jesus. Yep. I need Jesus to be real to me. Yep. They need Jesus to be real to them. It has to be a real relationship that they have with the Lord, not them repeat. Who cares if they repeat some words I said? It doesn't matter. What matters is that they really start to build a friendship with God themselves and realize, I need to turn. I need to trust, So that's what we're trying to do. And so at the end, we will pray with the kids, but we're not doing a repeat after me, and a lot of times you'll see the kids praying on their own. And I usually tell them, you can talk to God anytime, just like I'm talking to you right now. You need to talk to God. And so I go more that route. I do not have a repeat after me type of thing. That's all I wanted to add to that. All right, well, we have a couple things with the children's, well, more than a couple. But we have a few things. This is the hangman puzzle. Sometimes we call it the Bible verse puzzle. When you go into some of these communities where there's a lot of violence, we don't want to add more violent terminology, so we might say the Bible verse puzzle. Same thing, that there's a lot of some communities where magic may be an issue, especially if you're going overseas. Maybe you want to take some of these things over to an African nation, for example. You have to be very careful. I did a little object lesson to a principal of a school in Africa. I was in the Congo, and he just looked very concerned. He said, "By what power did you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just a trick. It's not, there's no power here, So, when you have these cultures where they really do have very serious demonic activity, kind of on a more regular, I don't know how to put it, we have demonic activity here everywhere too, but it's more overt, I guess I should say, in some countries. So when I lived in Thailand, demonic activity was much more noticeable, perhaps, or more acceptable, or in some ways, anyway, I don't know how to put it, but here in the States we tend to make light of it. It's like, oh yeah, that's just a trick or whatever, and you don't really think much about that type of thing, whereas in another country they might think that you actually have some type of magical power. In these countries where you might actually see people practicing levitation and things like that, there really are demonic powers at work. You just have to be careful. So, anyway, so seriously, do you want to do the hangman puzzle?
I do.
Bill does. It's Bill, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Bill wants to do.
Well,
Okay, all right. Let me figure out where I put my paint. It'll take me just a second to open up my paints here. All right. So who's smarter here, the girls or the boys?
Girls, all smart.
we outnumber the boys.
We've got 2 against 3 right now. Well, no, 3 if we count
Traitor,
Mark here.
traitor.
Truth.
Oh, I already know the answer, so.
Yeah, Gretchen's got some inside knowledge here. I didn't have a chance to refill my paint. I might run a little low. We'll see what happens.
Now, if you paint this, that means you're gonna have to make another whole one all over again?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel guilty now. I hate to see you have
Okay,
to
we
do
can
that.
just show it. You can pretend.
We can do that, couldn't we? So you don't have to make another one of these all over again?
Just
That's a lot of work then,
Yeah,
to make that.
yeah, you don't have.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I don't
wanna see you have to
Like-
do that all over
We're
Well,
not
like this
children, we don't
type
need
of
it
thing,
that
like
way.
if it were one of the other ones, it would take, I was actually gonna do one for you, but then I ended up having to do it anyway. So I was gonna do an open air for you, but,
You don't want to ruin
these don't take
It's
that
fine.
long. These don't take like maybe 10 or 15 minutes to do. It's not really a huge effort. So,
I just want to have to do a lot of work afterwards, after we get done, to put that back on another sheet.
It's okay.
it's okay.
Yeah. You can tell them what the verse says if you want.
All right, well, we're gonna do girls against the boys, so, so I'm taking my black paint and I'm making some red letters
Oh,
here.
isn't that clever? That is amazing.
Now, what power are you doing with that?
You would.
All right, so, anyone here wanna give me a name for the caterpillar? I have a good
You
name
do.
for the caterpillar.
Cat.
Worm.
Cat, worm, maybe we call him worm cat? Catworm or worm cat? Catworm?
Sure,
Catworm.
cat.
Okay, catworm wants to take a bite. He wants to devour that whole watermelon, actually. And if he eats the whole watermelon before you guys solve the puzzle, the caterpillar catworm is going to win. Now, you can guess letters. The boys' team and the girls' team will get points for letters, but if you suddenly know the whole word, don't say it, because you'll give points to the other team. So just letters, not the whole word. All right, ladies first. Everyone agree? Ladies first? All right, okay. Any of our ladies here, our girls, would like to give a letter?
A.
A. A, it's an awesome letter. A is for awesome. Unfortunately, catworm is going to take a bite of the watermelon. Now, when a caterpillar starts to eat, what happens? It
He
gets
makes holes.
bigger! So catworm is going to start growing here.
Oh, that's it.
Alright, boys.
E.
E. Uh-oh, boys take an early lead. Okay, just 1 point, girls. I think you can catch up. Ah. Did you say the same letter at the same time? That was amazing. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
At what power do you do that?
Something new.
Not well.
Girl power.
Girl power.
Oh boys, 3-1.
Now, is this supposed to be a Bible verse?
Yes, it's a Bible verse.
Okay, okay.
I'd say it if I knew it right.
What were the
No.
rules? If you know the word, don't say it because then you'll give points to the other team. You get points is who has the most letters at the end. So if you know it, that's good because then you can figure out which words, you know, which
I'm gonna go
which
with
letters
D.
have the most. What was it?
D.
D. D. I think we just tied it up here. Poor catworm is now getting hungry.
I was not good.
Ladies.
What happens when they do that? They don't say anything.
I didn't know.
5, 4,
Pass.
3.
Oh,
That's what happens. You start counting or you do the little Jeopardy song. Doo, doo.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Jeopardy's 30 seconds. Stick with 5.
C.
Yeah.
C. And just as an aside, you know, people in nursing homes love to do the hangman puzzle. So if you do any nursing home ministry, they love to guess the letter. And if you have a
It's
mic,
old school.
yeah.
They know it.
Yeah.
R. R.
Nursing home, you know.
Old school, get it?
Oops. Yep.
I know.
Alright, I think the girls might have taken it here. Alright, guys.
I'm gonna do O.
Oh.
Oh, for 5.
Oh, yes.
And if you look, you'll see why.
Yeah.
You.
You. Or catworm. Now, some kids will guess letters to feed the worm, which is always interesting.
The worm gets hungry.
H.
H. Very good. Good letter up there. H. Nothing for catworm again. T. No one wants to, so the kids always want to guess Z, X, and Q, which almost no, except if you're using Xerxes or something from the Book of Esther. then you don't have any of those letters generally come to you right.
And
All right, very good. And
Teacher,
lady?
teacher, I know, teacher.
All right. Now for your eager beaver, like Bill, you would say, Bill, come on up here. Don't look, tell me what the verse is. Now this verse is found in God's perfect book, the Holy Bible, and we can find Christ died for our sins.
Oh, check that out.
By what power do you?
1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 3. Now who is Christ? The Son of God. God. He is God himself. Jesus Christ is God. What about sins? Can anyone give me an example of a sin? It's an example of a sin.
where do I start?
Anything we say, think, or do that doesn't.
Anything we think wrong, say wrong, or do wrong. Anyone give me a specific example?
You think wrong, man.
Mine.
Cheat on our math test.
Cheat on our math test.
Don't like math.
Yeah, kids, we used to say fighting, stealing, punching my brother. So that's the hangman puzzle. So after that, we usually start with that. A lot of times we start the hangman puzzle as kids are still coming. It can, I hate to say, kill some time, but while you're trying to gather kids, it's something to do with the kids that are there. It's also good to have a couple extra object lessons with you so that while kids are waiting, kind of waiting for others to come, you've got a little something to do with them. So that's the hangman. And so after that we stand the kids up and we do an action song, and we just use very simple ones.
Don't you count them up now?
Oh, I forgot. My goodness. Thank you, Mark. All right, let's see who won.
We know one.
All right, so count with me. We'll do, we'll do the boys first. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the boys. All right, girls. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, the girls took it. All right, so girls won that round. So basically, we do that as an introduction. And if you're doing I don't know if you mentioned it, we have 5-day kids club. So up in Boston, we just did a kids club. You go to the same place for 5 days and hopefully get repeating kids coming. New kids come each day, but hopefully you have like a group that comes for the whole 5 days. And so we have a series of stories that we do, and we have verses that go with each story. And if the girls win, so there's big prize. Usually we have a church come alongside us to do it, and they can come up with some nice prizes. And the kids that get the most points during the week, they can go home with a bicycle or a hoverboard or whatever the church has provided. So we have these little cards, and we punch their cards each time. So if they come back the next day and they know the verse, they get points. If they know where it is in the Bible, they get points. If the girls won, they get an extra punch, but if the boys win, they get an extra punch. And so you can use it for that too. So we yes.
How long is each day, you spend each day doing this? Like you said, 5 days?
For a kids club?
Yeah.
Kids club, well, wow. So in Boston, we were with the kids. It depends. It can go anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple hours. Depends on the kids and how interested they are. So if you do everything, you're probably going to be there for a good hour. If you do a game, if you do a hangman, the song, object lesson, story, counsel the kids, do another game. So the church that we were with this week, they provided snacks. So what we did is after the story, we sat down, we did a worksheet with the kids. So if they bring the worksheet back, they get points. And so we did a worksheet with them, then they had a snack, then we did a game at the end. So you can do a game at the beginning to draw attention, but you can do a game at the end as well. And the kids just love it when you wanna spend time with them, when you wanna play with them. They eat that up, and so they'll stay there all day.
So the 5-day kids club looks a lot different than the, like, go
We
out
did-
to neighborhood and kind of flash
Yeah,
through kid club.
so what Gretchen and our team at SIT did, that Sketchboard Evangelism Training, we just did one-off meetings, and you can do, that's good too. So a one-off meeting is probably a little quicker. So, you just go, like maybe you're just, so sometimes you just have stuff prepared, and you might be driving by a park and say, oh, there's 20 kids in there, and just pop out, set up your board, and
It's Aaron.
let's go! You know, so that can be a lot quicker, but if you're doing a 5-day club with a church and they've bought prizes and stuff, it can take some time. You can be out there a couple hours doing it, so, but basically you find a spot, you just wheel your stuff in, you set up, and it's good if you have a PA system, like, I have a voice booster. Our guy in Boston, he actually has a whole big PA and a mic, and so he gets on that thing and he starts calling names out. Hannah, you were here yesterday. Come on, party! You know, he used to have a speaker on top of his van and he'd drive around and announce it. But anyway,
What kind of opposition have you guys seen? Like literally violent, not violent, but tendency and you know, I mean, we see enough videos. I mean, I'm on YouTube, even
Yeah.
with John, we see that the reality exists, so there's a level of concern and danger
sure.
to be considered. I mean, reality is what it is, especially nowadays. Have you guys run into
Some, I would say our group.
screamers or whatever you wanna call them?
Yeah, occasionally you'll get something like that. So if, like at Coney, I was at Coney Island once, and I was doing an open air down on the boardwalk area, and like a real kind of, what would you call it? A real oppositional atheist started trying to hinder the meeting. So it's always good to work with a team, because if you have a team member, they can go up there and try to talk to him and pull him aside and deal with him one-on-one. So I had a team member with me, and he did that, shut him down. So if you're by yourself, that can become a problem if you get a heckler that won't shut up. So I got a heckler that wouldn't shut up, was very oppositional, and just wanted to hinder. Sometimes a heckler can draw people, but sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, a lot of times what I see is Satan will bring alongside people to eat up your time. He'll send someone who's not interested at all, and maybe they just want to nah. So once you discern it, what's going on, is you just shut it down. So that's probably the most that I've gotten, is just someone that I've had to shut down the conversation and say, hey, thank you for stopping. I'm gonna have to move on now.
Yeah,
And you try to
yeah.
get away from there. We always have demon-possessed people that are out on the streets. Doesn't matter where you are. You can be out in the boondocks. You can be in the city. There's demon-possessed people, and they will try to hinder. So basically, don't make eye contact, because if you start to engage with a demon-possessed person, they will hinder. So we had a lady. We were at Harvard Square this past. When were we there? Wednesday. We were at Harvard Square. It's a tough spot. Oh my goodness.
What
So
makes that a tough spot?
So any university area is going to be a little more liberal.
Okay,
You're going to
yeah,
have
okay,
a greater,
okay,
you're going to have a
alright.
greater homosexual population. You're going to have a little bit more opposition,
Okay.
stuff like that. So we had a guy. He had just gotten off work. He came out on a bicycle, and he was very oppositional. And like every other word, was curse. So we just shut it down. It's like, okay, thanks. He did take literature. Surprise. I didn't even think he would take anything, but he did take stuff, and he was extremely rude. So we had him. He was just, I don't think he was demon possessed so much as he was extremely angry. And I think with someone like that, you just wonder what has happened in their life. Maybe they were sexually abused. That's something. So usually with someone that angry, really angry at, and they call themselves atheists, but they're just angry at God. Something has happened, or they saw something, or they experienced something, or whatever. and they're just angry at God. And so, and I was an atheist before I was saved, and I was that way. I was angry at the Lord because of some personal suffering in my family that had happened. And so, you know, you just wonder what's going on with that. But anyway, we had that guy, but then we had a demon-possessed woman, and we had a guy on our team. He was a little bit, I don't know how to describe, he had some type of disability. Very smart person, but he had something a little, and he was very childlike, even though he was 28 years old, but just no discernment. So this demon-possessed woman, and he engaged with this demon-possessed, and it triggered her. And so she got in front of our board, and I think she took off some clothes, you know, and stuff like that, and she's doing stuff, and I just all the directors, I'm not a director, but all the directors had left, and it was me with these kids, you know, and I was like, oh.
They left because there was a problem, or?
So,
We're out of here?
the one lady, so there was a married couple from Texas, they direct our branch down in Dallas. They had just gone to the restroom, so they had left to go to the
just coincidentally?
Yeah, just
okay.
and then the Boston director had left because he needed to move the van, because you can park for 45 minutes and then you gotta move the van. So
Okay.
he had left to move the van, and then the other two had left to go to the bathroom, and that leaves me with the demon-possessed woman.
Oh.
So I walked around the team and I said, do not look at her, begin to pray that she'll go away. Do not engage, and everyone just went, and of course she's taking off clothes too, so you know, you don't wanna, so, and then she's all doing her weird, and she was kind of doing like an open air, you know, she was like saying stuff or whatever, and I saw this guy, and I just went over and I had the best conversation with this guy.
Don't ignore her.
Just ignore her.
Interesting,
Just
okay.
ignore her, and she went away. So we prayed her out of there, and but just ignore. So we get that type of thing. You might, if you have a team with you, and it's someone that, unfortunately, teams can be a blessing and a curse. If you have people on your team that just don't have discernment and they engage with demon-possessed people, I'm like, please don't do that. But anyway, if they do, you'll have to deal with it. So that's
See,
happened.
that answer helped me, just generally speaking. You know, not saying that I will be doing this per se, but it's good to hear
Yeah.
that, because it's
Whatever you're doing, it'll happen. That'll happen no matter you got a board or no board. That'll happen. So,
Yeah.
Right.
so another thing, we have had some guys on our university that do some university ministry down. The guy down in Virginia, I think we got a video of it. They knocked his board over.
Oh, yeah.
You know, stuff. That was Paul Adams. So Paul Adams got his board knocked over. Has anyone ever gotten?
Have you heard your board knocked over?
Yeah. So, but it's a pain. I mean, the paint goes flying everywhere. So if someone knocks your board, it's a pain. You know?
That's a pain.
So, I haven't had anyone attack me physically. So Paul was that's sort of a more physical
If you
attack.
can, if you're in a group, especially if you're in the city or whatever, don't go all by yourself or even with the other lady, you know, mixed groups and go.
Yeah.
with it. Try-
Yeah, always
try
good to at least
If you
have a
can,
part-
you know.
If you
It's
can.
okay to have mace on you too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Body cam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Mace, what, I mean,
Yeah.
have it not needed
We
is
have,
good.
so in Rochester, a ministry I work with, she has a taser.
There you go.
So
Taser,
Yeah.
You know,
mace,
you can-
Yeah,
yeah.
that's Rochester, you need it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
here in
that's
Maine,
we are where
you
we are.
don't need to taser
Yeah.
anyone in this part of Maine, probably.
Well, I
But,
guess it's all just using discernment, but whenever
Yeah.
you can in a group.
but you can carry, and we do have some ministries I work with, there are people that carry.
Carry.
So you can, I have nothing against self-defense. So any type of self-defense thing, you might want to carry something with you. People have different views on that, and I'm fine with any type of view. If someone has, there's some really, actually some really good materials about, peacemaking from the Mennonites and things like that. So, and they don't carry, but, so whoever wants to work with us and whatever view they have, God, it's kind of strange, that people can have different, I found that God will honor when people are doing it to honor, if they're doing it out of pride, that's another thing. But if someone's doing that out of a sincere conviction to honor the Lord honors them in that. So whoever you're working with, that's what I've found to be the case. So, so either way, I'm fine both ways. I don't carry anything.
Choice,
So that's my, that's what
preference.
that's how I've been led so far. I may start to carry something, I don't know, but I don't at this time. So there have been some physical attacks. Most of the time, though, people maybe just get angry and they just don't want to talk to you anymore, or something like that. That's probably the worst that I've ever, or a demon-possessed person, like I just explained. That's probably the worst I've ever gotten. The main thing is you really, before any time you go out on the streets, you need to pray for protection and pray against the hindering spirits, because there's Satan's out to hinder. And it can come in all different kinds of ways. And I've found one of his tactics is as soon as you set up, you get some weirdo that just wants to like talk, you know, and just like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to step over here and do something for a few minutes, you know. Or sometimes like I'll just leave, but sometimes I'm out by myself and like I'll just say, excuse me for a minute, and I'll just leave for a few minutes and come back, you know, and just so that they'll go away. So just different things the Lord will lead you to do. So if you have to leave, just leave your stuff. You know, who cares about the stuff? I'd like to see the person who's going to steal this. So, anyway.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Where these are so large, have you run into any problems with like law enforcement saying that you can't set up in certain places?
Oh, yeah.
Are there guidelines to take into account if you want to set these up places? Is there certain like rules to follow as regards to that?
Well, my general principle, and again, this is something not everyone will agree with, but I would rather ask for forgiveness than be hindered right from the get-go.
There you go.
So I just go and
She's
set
crazy.
up. So I went to Syracuse University and I just set up my board, and like, you know, for a couple times they didn't seem to care. And then about the third time I set up, they kind of came out and said, hey, this is a private university. So I moved down the street. So, so yeah, I don't follow any rules until they make me. Okay. So.
Yeah,
but
I can
also-
see you having to go through like 5 booklets of rules around in
Yeah.
Mid-Coast area.
I found if you go and try to, I don't know, just it can cut both ways. I mean, you can shoot yourself in the foot by not asking for a permit and stuff like that too. So just seek the Lord on that as well, because there is a city parks, a county park system in Monroe County where I live in New York. And so to get into the parks, you can get a permit. And so I have done that, but I set up first and then found out I should get this permit. So anyway, I did ask for forgiveness on that one too. And there's still some parks I just go set up, because they're like in certain parts of the city, nobody cares if you're there. They got too many other things to deal with. They don't care about this girl with a board.
Yeah, these are their concerns.
They're like,
Jesus freak.
you can do whatever you want. You're brave enough to come stand in this park? Go for it. You
Yeah.
know? So,
And I was surprised at how receptive people were to when we went into some of the, like I said, the worst neighborhoods. Like, we're just like kids club, and no one was like, oh, go away. They're like, oh, thank you, you know, and they're just happy that someone, like, especially in those neighborhoods, that someone came in to do something nice with our kids. And they may have a background, you know, but a background in knowing Jesus or whatever, but, you know, likely not. But they're still very, like, yeah, they're just very thankful, and they'll come over and they'll be like, oh, thank you for coming, and, you know, people will gather around, and a lot more, you know, adults will come to the kids ministry too. So.
yeah, the way to the adults is through the kids.
Yeah.
We have more adult ministry at a kids meeting sometimes than we do out on the streets. And it's also a good way to get teens. So especially if you have a teen with you, like a lot of times teens will just roll up on their skateboard or their bicycle and just kind of be looking. They're too cool for school, so they're not gonna like come too close. But anyway, if you've got a team, they can go talk to those, do a rope trick. Hey guys, you want to see this rope trick? You know, you can really have some good conversations with teens out in the parks and things, or wherever you are. And so, anyway, children's ministry, it's not just for kids, and the adults are hearing that message too. So you just never know what's going to happen. A lot of times the kids will go home and say, "Mom, I think you're sinning." So you just never know what God's going to do
Yeah.
through the kids.
That's funny.
So I really encourage people to do the kids ministry. A lot of times, like, I'll be honest with you. My interest when I first was trained by OAC in 2009, my interest in children's ministry was like -1 million. It was like, that's babysitting. I could care less. I don't want to do that. And so, this was the first children's ministry that I saw that was effective, that I could do in a church setting or in an open air setting, and it works both ways, and you're not babysitting. You're actually doing something fruitful and productive, and you can take an hour or an hour and a half or whatever time you need to fill, and you can fill it with fruitful, productive things that aren't empty, and you don't feel like you're just watching these kids crawl on the floor and punch each other and wipe their boogers on the wall or whatever they're doing, So, all right, so after the hangman puzzle, we do an act. Any other questions? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we roll this back. I'm just going to take it down for now. So we get the kids to stand up and we do an action song. We just use really simple ones in OAC. You can do whatever ones you know. But the main thing is to change position, because you want to keep, if you're going to do a kids club or if you want to do a Sunday school lesson or wherever you are with kids, you want to keep it moving. You don't want to just let it get stagnant, because kids are going to start, doing other things. So something else will become more interesting very quickly if you're not interesting enough. So we use a lot of object lessons with kids, and then we do a story. So any questions about the song? Do you want me to do a song? You want to do a song?
Okay. You can if you want.
All right. Well, anyway, you guys know action songs, right? So I think Gretchen mentioned to someone earlier. I grew up Catholic, and so I didn't learn any of those little songs. So I'm like learning them now, but like I didn't know a single one.
So what are they besides Father Abraham?
Well, go to YouTube.
In right, upright, down right, happy all the time. I'm in right, upright, down right, happy all the time. Since Jesus Christ came in and washed away my sin. I'm in right, upright, down right, happy all the time. Woo!
I gotta learn that one.
All right, so one's like a very, very simple songs. My God is so big, so strong, and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. All those things. You know that one.
Of course you are.
No? The mountains are His, the rivers are His, the stars are His handiwork too. Woo woo! Ryan Itzel does that the best. My God is so big, so strong, and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you.
It's coming
I
up
can
on
do that at
VBS
Walmart.
season. Just visit all the different churches VBS's.
Yeah.
You'll learn lots of songs.
Yeah.
Walmart greeter has a new gig.
There's a bunch of them. Like, we have OAC has a version of Baby Shark. So that's a good one, especially if you're doing creation. You want to do Baby Shark? Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do it. Baby Shark. I don't know how does it go?
Oh, I thought I had a variation of that for.
Oh well, the variation is that at the end we do. Okay, so you have the guy lose an arm. Lost an arm. Oh wait, then you lose a leg. So you lose an arm, you lose a leg. Lost a leg. Whatever. Okay, and then CPR. 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 And then you do. And then going to see Jesus, going to see Jesus, So, but at the between this one, between the two, you kind of pause and you go, but kids, when he didn't make it, he was safe and secure because he had turned and trusted Jesus for his salvation, or whatever you want to say, and then you go and see Jesus. Go and see. Okay. Anyway, that's the OAC
That's why I love
version.
this girl.
See, that's you in your element, by the way.
Yeah, all for
Oh.
Jesus.
No, I'm talking about just the way you just wore it
Yeah.
like that. That
Yeah.
was you in your element. That was awesome. It shows a whole different side. That's
If you wanna
good.
work for Walmart, you could be a good greeter.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. Okay, then we do the story after that. So, you take a sip of water here. All right, so you want me to go through the story, right?
Yeah, I think we'll have, I think we should probably do that.
We got 10 minutes, so
And-
we've got the story and then we've got a bunch of object lessons, so if you guys need to run somewhere, we can end at 6, but if you have a little time, because if
Yeah.
we want to go through the object lessons, we might go a little late. What do you guys think?
Or,
I'm here.
or they can, you,
Don't, what my point is, I should say it, let me say it this way. Don't feel like you have to stay.
maybe they can, maybe after they can, like, if they wanna look at a particular object lesson, just kinda
Right,
lead and see if they.
right, yeah, speaking
They
of
look
which,
at some materials over here.
I'll do this. Oh, yeah, we did this, all right. Oh, the only thing is we didn't do the writing, we might not have time to do
Oh,
the
yeah, you
writing.
might have to just get the sheets on that. Also,
If you do want
Right.
some training, at some future point, yeah, so there you go.
I made sheets that, I made some, say, like the different websites you can go to. There was actually one really good from the UK OAC, because OAC is international, and these are some really good videos about how to do the ladder lettering that she does, and how to do the partial lettering, and a lot about the paint, how to tell the story, and there's a lot of good resources on Open Air Campaigner's web page itself, and you'll even find Aaron doing some lessons on the OAC archives of the website too. So there's a lot of YouTube. I found myself learning the rope trick only after being shown 10 times and not being able to move my fingers the right way, and getting discouraged, and then going home or going back to the hotel and working with YouTube for an hour and doing it on my own and getting it straight. So a lot of good information online.
They had a song.
They have a lot of action
Songs?
songs on YouTube.
I don't know if we have our songs on.
Oh,
there,
her songs?
But,
I'm sure I can find them on YouTube or somewhere.
yeah, or if you wanted to do songs, so for every day on a 5-day kids club, we have a different verse, a different song, a different object lesson that changes up each day. So if you were interested in that, I could ask our directors to give you the information for what song to do this day, or, it really doesn't matter, but,
I just wonder what, I haven't seen a lot of these songs before, right?
Mhm.
Said that, but I don't remember them, but.
Yeah.
I know, like you in the children's church with me.
The main thing is that it's short, and that it's action,
Yeah.
and that it catches the attention. We have the karate song too. We do. I will call upon the Lord.
Ooh, I like that song.
So we do that one too. Anyway, so I won't do that one for you. I don't do that one very well. You have to have good. Anyway, good. All right, so this is the story. So I'm just gonna go through. So pretend you're 8 years old or so.
That's easy.
And okay.
You Bill.
All right, very good. Child at heart. If you could go anywhere that you wanted, what location, what place would you want to go to? Disney World. Popular choice. Tennessee. This is funny. Oh, let me just give you a funny insight. I was doing this in Dearborn, Michigan, and so we had kids that were from Mecca. Well, we had kids that were from like Afghanistan and different places, and they were like, they had learned English here, and so usually like kids will say Disney World, Hawaii or whatever, and this one little boy, he went, Ohio! So it was like, anyway, okay, I guess it wasn't as funny as I thought, but anyway, I thought it was fun. All right, so today we're going to talk about those those are great places to go. Disney World, Tennessee, all kinds of things to do there. We're gonna talk about the best place we could ever go.
Am I supposed to ask for what power?
Can anyone read that for me?
Heaven.
Heaven. Heaven is the best place we could ever go. Now, who lives in heaven?
God.
Jesus, God.
That's right. God lives in heaven. Jesus is God. And he is at the right hand of the Father. And heaven is a perfect place. In heaven, we have no electronics.
No, that's my sister.
In heaven, there's no more pain,
And no telephones.
no telephone. There's no sorrow. There's no sin, no bad things. People won't do bad things anymore. And one of my favorite ones is that in heaven, there's no more death. And in heaven, God has a very special book. And this book is called the Lamb's Book of Life. And in the Lamb's Book of Life is written the names of everyone who is going to heaven. Now, is everyone's name in that book? No. Well, what happened? Why isn't everyone's name in the Lamb's Book of Life? We know that God loves everyone. We know that God wants everyone to be with him. Why isn't everyone's name in the Lamb's Book of Life? What happened? So in the beginning, if we want to know the end of the story, we have to go back to the beginning. God created the world. Can anyone tell me some of the things that God created? Animals. So we have a little dinosaur here. What else? The sun, the moon. So we have the sun up here.
Trees, grass.
Trees, grass.
Black flies?
Black flies.
Black flies matter.
Okay, what is that?
So we've got grass, we've got animals, we've got fish, we've got birds, we've got trees, grass, the sun, moon, and stars. What's missing?
Black flies.
We've
People.
got black people. So God created, anyone know the name of the first man that God created? Adam. And we have Adam and we have Adam's wife. Now, Adam and Adam's wife. What's that?
Is she yelling at him?
That's her hair. Sorry. Adam and Adam's wife and God, they had a perfect friendship. There was nothing that was interfering their communication at all, but they had a perfect friendship. And God gave Adam and his wife, they had one rule that they had to follow. So if you have a relationship between two people, that relationship will be tested. And so there came a test. And the one rule that they had to keep was there was a special tree in the midst of the garden. It was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God said, of all the trees of the garden, they were in the Garden of Eden, of all the trees of the garden, you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, in the day that you eat of that, you will surely die. So then came the test. Satan came into the Garden of Eden, and he came in the form of a serpent. And he began to talk to Adam's wife, and he said, did God really say that in the day that you eat of the tree, that you will surely die? You won't surely die. God knows when you eat of the tree that you shall be like God. And so Adam's wife, she looked at the tree and she saw that it was beautiful and that it was good for food and that it could make her wise. And she took of the tree.
I'm being dead, so I just asked that was after.
The eagle eye is watching you.
Hawkeyes are watching.
Yeah.
I got surprised you being the worst.
So Adam's wife, she took of the tree and she ate it and she gave some to her husband and he ate it. Now, when they took it, did they just fall down dead right away on the ground?
No.
All right, they, I don't know what happened. Okay, sorry. I've got dreadlocks forming, so they didn't die physically right away, but what died immediately was that perfect friendship that they had with God. Now, there was a block. So when we disobey God, now Adam and his wife, they just ate one piece of fruit. But I know that there's things that people have done, they've thought wrong, they've done wrong, they've said wrong. I've done more than just eat a piece of fruit when I shouldn't have eaten it. But if we do something wrong, like let's say we cheat on a test in school, or we tell a lie, or we fight with our friend, or we take the toy and we selfishly play with it for all the time and no one else has another chance. When we do these things, when we disobey our parents, they'll go clean your room and we don't do it. Go wash the dishes and we don't do it. We have this bad attitude. Any disobedience is called sin, and we all have sin that lives in our heart. And sin, it's like there's a stinky pig that lives in your heart. Sin, stinky, inner nastiness. Sin. So this is why Jesus had to come, because he had to come and get rid of sin. Because sin what? Sin separates us from God. Sin causes what? Death. Eventually, we're gonna die. So it's very serious. And this is why, the whole reason why Jesus came. To get rid of sin. So God came to us. And Jesus came. And he died on the cross. And they put nails in his hands. A nail in his feet. And a crown of thorns on his head. For our sin, Jesus suffered from head to toe. And he didn't just suffer, but on the cross, he died. And they buried him in the tomb. But death could not hold him. He has power over death. And after 3 days, Jesus rose from the grave and he defeated death. Now, a lot of people would like to know for sure how to get where. Like the title of our story, how to get to heaven. How can I have a friendship with God right now? How can I be sure later, I don't know when I'm going to die. How can I be sure that I'm going to go to heaven? So, a lot of people will think to themselves that, you know what, I think that I can do it myself. I'm good enough. I help my neighbor. I'm not getting in. I pray 10 times a day.
Even the rosary.
100 times a day. I prayed the rosary. I read the Quran. I did this, I did that. Sin's still there.
It really wouldn't work if that broke, but
That's happened before. So if I'm trusting in myself to remove sin, I'm going to end up separated from God. And if I die that way, the separation will be permanent. But this isn't what God wants. This is the whole reason why Jesus died. What does this red color mean? The blood of Jesus Christ. Without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness. We have to be forgiven of our sins. And so our guy here, he said, you know what? I'm tired of listening to the wrong music. I'm tired of doing the wrong things. I'm tired of using the wrong words. I want to turn and trust that Jesus paid for me. And when we turn and trust, He is the way, the truth, and the life. There's no other way to have a friendship with God right now and to be safe with the Lord later when this life is over. This life is temporary. This life is short. Jesus is forever. So kids, and then you pray just brief prayer, Lord, in Jesus' name, I pray for protection. All of these kids, I pray they'd all be saved. Amen. And then we get out the count. We do the prizes then. Best behaved boy. Okay, who was the best behaved boy?
Mark.
Mark, did you bring,
Partially.
did you bring a prize?
Oh, yeah.
I think she brought prizes.
I don't have that.
Oh, okay. Later.
Oh, it's a...
donut?
No, it's like a Frisbee or something.
Frisbee. I put my prize, but if you really want a prize, I've got some cool prizes in there. Okay, then best behaved girl. I don't know, it's a hard choice between you two.
Yeah.
Alright, so anyway, best behaved boy, best behaved girl, and then we do the counseling booklets. Or we sometimes 5-day kids club, we do a worksheet with the kids, sit down with the kids, do a little worksheet, then we do a game, final game. And then the counseling booklet on the last day. See if anyone's interested. So, yeah. So that's the kids clubs. Now we have a bunch of out at 6:10. I don't know, do you guys want a little break or? Okay, all right.
Do you want to, if anybody has to kind of run, if you want to just grab a couple things about OAC.
There are some tracks
There's Aaron's
and
news
stuff
update
over here.
newsletter. That's
Yeah, I've
pretty
got it. If you want to sign up to get my newsletter, you can get it by snail mail, you can get it by email. I've got a little sign up sheet there, there's a couple pens.
What was
I'll move this board over.
Are you on Facebook? Okay, I'm gonna